We have the Sam 3D Putt. It's a great way for you as a student to see how the putter moves in space for you. This is your signature, your stroke. We can look at it from lots of different angles, looking at the face angles. We can look where you're striking the ball. We can see if you've got any in-plane or out-of-plane motion. Bit of in-plane for myself there. We look at the launch, so making sure you get a nice roll on the ball from the two horizontals. Here's the templates, so like a Visio template, we can see that the arc and the rotation of the club, and we can see if they're matching. We look at it in plane, which is one of my favourites, and that's that in plane motion for myself on the way back. So pretty cool bit of kit that we can have a look at your stroke from all angles. When we go into a player's report, here we've got some data on how the golfer is aiming the club and how consistent. We can then look at what happens to the face at impact. So we're going from where we aim to the face at impact, and this number here is the sort of the change in that number. So this is my report here, and I've got a pull bias, which is a 1.5 degrees close in. What suits that quite well is a path that goes a little bit to the right, albeit a little inconsistent. We can look at your backswing ratio. So this number here is sort of 60% is the size of the backswing and 40% is the size of the through swing. We can look at where you're striking the ball on the face. Is it on the heel? Is it on the toe? Is it in the middle? Is it mixed? And you've got the lie angle of the club. Here we see the arc of the club. So is the putter moving in an arc or not? And moving on to the rotation of the club. So they're the two sort of orientations that my putting template will look at, and then the relative rotation of how those two things add up together. This graph here is quite often the yips graph. So it's the rotation, acceleration, the twisting of the club. So if that's a high number, if that goes above 500, 600, 700, we know we're in a lot of trouble, and there's some yips, so we need to calm down one of the hands. We also look at the launch of the putter, or the launch of the ball, and what the club's doing to create that. So here we can see a rise angle hitting up on the ball 2 degrees, which is fine, a nice rise. Shaft is a little bit too de-lofted, but I do have an extra degree on my putter, so it works well. So a big de-loft, so it actually says, well, I'm launching the ball a little bit lower. We can then look at your stroke dynamics. So here we have the speed of the putter in the backswing and the forward swing, and the acceleration. Also, we've got the time it takes to do the backswing and the through swing and their relationship. We also can look at lots of other details like the swing plane, the swing radius, swing direction, where the low point is of your stroke, and the vertical arc. Moving into shaft plane, pivot, rotation, and the shaft at impact. Lots of information, which is great to see, but what we don't do is show all these numbers to the student during the lesson. We don't bombard you with hundreds and hundreds of information. We pick 1 or 2 bits that are crucial for you to focus on, to make sure you're not losing any energy from your technique. Technique is important, but it isn't everything. There are other skills you need to be good at, like your green reading, like your start line, like your speed. Sure, technique can influence those second 2, but it's not all of it. So lots of information, but we simplify it massively so you are totally clear on exactly what's going on during the stroke. One of my favourite modes to use on the Sam Putt Lab is the training mode, because when the player hits a putt, straight away we get the data on the screen. So like I never will use the other part. It's always never measure. I go straight into the training mode. So once you've hit a putt, the player's hit a putt, we can see, didn't pick it up. If that's, so there we go. As soon as you hit the putt, it picks up the numbers, tells you where your face was at impact, stroke, etc, etc. What's pretty cool is if we're working on this, so let's say we were working on your strike, every time you hit a putt as a student you can see the numbers. So like that was a toe strike for myself, that's definitely one of my sort of tendencies. So I can obviously try and work on that. Right, let's hit this out the middle. And straight away I get instant feedback on if I did so or not. So it's a great way of learning through feedback.